Hello, everybody. This is Aaron Dean, head chess coach of Learning Through Games. We teach in a lot of schools throughout Indiana. And I'm here talking about my top 30 checkmates of all time. Today we're at number 11 on the top 30, or at least my favorite checkmates of all time. As you see from the picture, that was Bobby Fischer, world chess champion, from I think 72 to 74. Quite an interesting player, even by World Chess Champion standards, but that's for another video. Now, this game is kind of interesting because even though it's my number 11 checkmate of all time, it doesn't quite get to checkmate or even close to it. But I'll explain why it still belongs on my list. So let's take a look at this game. And he was playing Samuel Rebesky, who was probably about the best U.S. player at the time, or maybe Bobby too, in the late 50s. So Bobby was quite young, I think maybe even in his early teens, and he played this amazing game. Bobby Fischer was white, pawn e4, and then Samuel Rebesky played the Sicilian pawn c5. After that, knight f3, then knight c6, and what now is a way for white to open up the center. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, if you said pawn d4, you were correct. Remember, the best way to break things open in chess usually, or open up the center, is with a pawn. Because if you take a pawn, you only lose it. One pawn, 1 point. And it's just the easiest kind of thing to work in to break into things. So after that, pawn takes, pawn, knight takes. It is not good for black to take here, because if you did, then white has all this control of the center, and you're just giving that to white. So Samuel Rebesky, of course, knew that. Instead, he played pawn to g6, looking to fianchetto the bishop, and Bobby went ahead and played bishop to e3. Samuel played bishop to g7, and Bobby played knight c3. Very good opening moves. Samuel played knight f6. And now a lot of kids I teach love playing moves like bishop b5. And in some cases, pinning or pressuring a knight is a really good move. But in a lot of cases like this, you might just wind up trading it off, a good bishop for the knight at some point. So bringing the bishop to c4 is a lot better, because it probably won't just be traded off even, and you might be able to do something pretty awesome too in this game with that, which actually might have happened. So after that, black castles, and white plays a bit of a weird looking move. He backs up the bishop. Now you probably think, why would he back up the bishop? Why not just play a move like castling? Well, here's why, and this has to do with another video we talked about like a month ago, or another video on my series. The center fork trick. If take here, that's good for black, because if take back, black now forks the two pieces, and this turns out to be pretty good for black. And to avoid that, what you do is what Samuel did, which is he instead backed the bishop up after the castle. And now the center fork trick doesn't work. So that center fork happens in a lot of ways during a lot of parts of the game. So after that, Samuel played what might be his first bad move of the game. He played knight a5. Now you're about to see a continuation that is pretty awesome, and that Bobby Fischer, supposedly, what he said is he actually saw it in some Russian chess journals. He didn't just come up with it on his own. Russian chess journals in the 50s. And remember, back in those days, we didn't have a lot of these translators now, and so you had to understand Russian, which I think Bobby did at the time, or always understood Russian. So after knight a5, what's a move that white can do to kind of take the initiative? Do you see a move? Pause the video if you need to. If you said pawn e5, then you were correct. Pushing the knight doesn't have many spots to go. If it goes here, it gets taken. If it goes here, it gets taken. It could go here, but then if it goes here, can you tell me what would happen then? It could get trapped. Pause the video if you can find the trap. Okay? If you said pawn to g4, you were correct. Notice how a lot of these traps are also done by pawns. like if you could by chance threaten that knight with a bishop, you can't. It doesn't have the same chance of really trapping because you probably might win a pawn out of it, but you know if you threaten it with another pawn, then you're going to win something with a trap. So that wasn't the best move. So the best move, well, it might have been the best move after what happened. So the move that Samuel played was knight e8. Now let's see if you can find a pretty awesome move here. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, if you said bishop takes f7, you are correct. That is a crazy move, awesome. But it's really good because of what comes after it. You kind of had to see a couple moves ahead here. Now, they could take with the rook or the king, but either way, the same thing happens. Samuel took with the king. What do you think the best move here is? Pause the video if you need to. Okay? If you said knight e6, you are correct. Knight will threaten the queen, and the queen has no spot to go to. It'll get taken, no matter where it goes to. Has to sit there and get taken. Or, in Samuel's case, take. Queen takes queen. And this game went a few more moves after this. Actually, a lot of moves. But didn't really get close to mate. He resigned early. I'm just going to show you a few of these games. Yeah, my son even likes that. He loves this game too, yeah. So bishop takes. Knight here. And Samuel tried really hard to make it an interesting game, but, actually castle. Yeah. But in the end, there's just not much you can do with this position. But the reason I put this game on the list is, to me, I always saw it as a kid and teach other kids what would happen if he had actually done this instead. So let's go back. When the knight goes to e6, oops, what if he would have taken with the king? Because this leads to a lot of pretty awesome checkmates. It's actually a checkmate in 6 right here with best play. So, to me, this is what kind of, in my mind, always happened with the game, and what I know best about the game. So let's see if you can find a good move here for white. Pause the video if you need to. Okay. If you said queen d5, you were correct. Pretty awesome. That, I think, is just the only move there that really works. And they have to play king to f5. Now there's a few options. What can we do to checkmate that king? Pause the video if you need to. All right, if you said pawn g4, you were correct. I think pawn f4 works too. It's not a check, but that is, I believe, a force mate too. Pawn g4, check. They can do a couple different things here. They can, well, no, actually they cannot. They can only take it, so that's the only thing they can do. So they can take here, and now we have a couple options that we can do. Pause the video if you want to find one of those great options. Let's see here. All right, if you said queen to e4, you were correct. That's one way. Or rook g1. I always kind of like this. I've shown this checkmate many times. Now they have a couple moves. They can play king h4 or king h3. If they play king h3, what is the next move? What do you guys like? Pause it if you need to. All right, there's a checkmate in 2. An up-close checkmate, up-close and personal, queen to g2. They only have one move, and there's only one checkmate in 1 here, although there's a couple checkmate in 2s. What is the move that is checkmate in 1? Pause that video if you need to. All right, queen to g4 checkmate. So quite an awesome game from beginning to end. It's a game that, believe it or not, I sometimes play games online, and I've beat people like this. And I did it real quick, and people thought, what, are you a genius? Are you using a computer? And I'm like, no, I just knew the Fisher game. So this has always been a great famous game in my move, and a very important game, because this is one of the games that propelled Bobby Fischer to greatness. All right, guys, we are entering the top 10 next. I can't wait to get started on that. And you will be surprised at what you see. Could we see Bobby Fischer again? I don't know, maybe. We'll see you next time.